When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
Hi everyone, I'm Deb Flashenberg. Welcome to Yoga, Birth, Babies, a podcast produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. We will be diving into everything prenatal yoga, birth, and baby related, hoping to inspire, educate, and empower you through your journey into motherhood. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Deb Flashenberg, and I'm your host of Yoga Birth Babies. And today we have a community birth story. We have one of our PYC students, Emily Silver, sharing her birth story. What I really appreciate about Emily's story is throughout the whole thing, she was so open and honest and vulnerable and authentic about some of the challenges she met, challenges early in her pregnancy, some of the challenges of her birth itself, of the pushing stage, of the wild ride of her postpartum. And she just really stayed true to herself. Now, what's also fascinating to me and remarkable is that other people might hear the story and be like, wow, are you okay? And what she walks away with is saying she felt amazing. She felt that while physically and even mentally it was challenging, she was so respected and heard throughout this that she even says she wouldn't change a thing. Wow, does that not speak to the people that supported her, to the team that she built, and to her insisting on having the support that suited her? She also talks about how she gathered her team and was really thoughtful about the support that she knew she needed. I'm so excited for you to hear this story. Let me tell you a little bit about Emily. So Emily, as we record this, is 34, and she's been with her husband for the last 10 years. Throughout her pregnancy, she went to Prenatal Yoga Center. She is currently a teacher, a kindergarten teacher on the Upper West Side, and she lives in Harlem. And she was a born and raised Brooklynite. So that's really exciting to hear. We feel like we have so few actually born and raised New Yorkers. So it's really fun talking to Emily. Before we get to that conversation with Emily, that birth story, I always love to give updates about what's happening at Prenatal Yoga Center. So if you want the most up-to-date schedule for our online and our in-person classes, our workshops, even looking at our on-demand library, check everything out at our website, prenatalyogacenter.com. We've got a ton of resources that you can peruse through, from past podcasts to old blogs. Actually, not old. I just published one a couple weeks ago, to videos. There's so much there for you to take a look at. And then also, while you're there, you can sign up for our newsletter. We send that out once a week, and we always have some sort of tip or a piece of advice and a video, updates about things happening at the studio, pictures of our community. I really love to bring the community into together. So that's where it comes into the newsletter. So a lot you can check out. Sign up for the newsletter, learn about our teacher training. So much happening there. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm so excited for you to enjoy Emily's birth story.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well.
And of course, we're in New York. I hear the horns, but that is what it is. And we might hear your baby sometime soon, too. That's the fun of
Night.
these. All right. So thank you for coming on and sharing about your birth story. I know you said that during your pregnancy, you listened to the podcast and the birth stories. So it's exciting to have you now be the guest star and share yours.
Yeah, for me, it was honestly something I kind of secretly hoped would happen. When people ask me, like, what was the one thing that you were the most consistent with? It was actually listening to the birth stories. Like,
Oh, my
they
goodness.
had a huge impact on me. I had like my favorite ones that I would re-listen to. Like, it really was something that I'm like so grateful existed.
And now you're giving back. You're going to share your story, and someone might hear your story and feel really connected and impacted. So I love that full circle. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a teacher. I work on the Upper West Side. I'm 34 years old. I recently moved to Harlem about a year ago. Before that, I was living in Brooklyn, and I was actually born and raised there.
Oh, wow. That's a big jump.
Yeah.
Up.
A little
Wow.
bit of identity crisis that my daughter is not a Brooklynite, but she does have roots there.
Something I actually kind of understand that. My kids were both born in Manhattan, and now they're a little older than your daughter. But when they got phones, because we're at that age, I wanted them to have New York numbers because I wanted them to carry that New York identity. I know that's so
totally see
dorky.
that. No, I love that. I completely understand the rationale.
Oh, good. I feel so validated. All right, so let's jump into some things about your pregnancy and your birth. Now, I know when I talked to you about being a guest and I had you fill out the intake form, you actually mentioned something that I don't often hear. You mentioned in your intake form that this pregnancy became one of the calmest transitions in your life, which isn't you. Most people usually like stressed and anxious and it's turbulence. But I'd love to know, what do you think contributed to that sense of ease?
Yeah, I'll start by saying one of the words that my family uses to describe me is intense. I can get a little bit intense.
Okay.
And I was coming off of a pretty intense year. And I contributed to a few things. One, progesterone. I right away, I felt this sense of calmness in me that
Huh.
didn't make me feel like myself. And I looked it up that this hormone is released early in pregnancy, and it is part of why you may feel calm. It's also part of why you may feel tired all of the time. And I felt both of those things. Like, certain things would annoy me, and I would think about getting intense about those things, and then it would just kind of like fade away. And my
That's
husband
amazing.
like constantly joked, like, we have to bottle this hormone up. Like, this is the new you. It's not temporary. And something else I would contribute to is just new priorities. Like, I felt that my body was a vessel taking care of the most important thing in the entire world, and I needed to just cool it. And my focus was on her, and part of taking care of her is just letting things go. We'll get more into my birth story later, but I had experienced a chemical pregnancy before her. And one affirmation that really stuck with me after, maybe I had a week or two of anxiety getting pregnant the second time, was this affirmation that was kind of along the lines of, everything that is known is good. I had to let go of the previous chapter. And with each appointment, there was just good, positive news. And I really tried focusing on that and not like inventing, stories and scenarios in my mind that were not concrete.
Oh, wow. I love that. I mean, that is something in itself to hold on to, because I know that when I have anxiety, my mind is going into crazy places about things that hadn't come true. I love that you recognize that and kind of prioritize not going there. But you
Yeah.
also talked about really prioritizing taking care of your body. What were some of the things that you did that helped that?
Well, I was taking consistent yoga classes at the Prenatal Yoga Center. I
Right.
was eating well. I was drinking a lot of water. A lot of the things that I thought I would have done, like really like kind of micromanaging the experience. I kind of joke you can make pregnancy like your whole personality if you want. I didn't do that. I really kind of had more of a balanced approach to how I was, quote unquote, taking care of my body. And that, I think, led to a better end result, or at least me feeling more positive, because I wasn't feeling like I was always failing or like doing the wrong thing. So yeah, that was a really big part of it for me.
That's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about the team that you gathered. So I know you felt really confident with your doctor and you had a great doula. How did you find them? And then how do you think that support shaped your experience? And then it's like a three-parter. And then how did that team help you stay mentally flexible in the process, in the birth process?
Yeah, the first very early on, I asked a friend, or I told a friend that I was pregnant. And the first thing she said to me was, you need to have a doula. Like, that is the best thing you can do
Great
for
advice.
yourself, to have like that one person that's always in your corner. And right away, we started interviewing doulas. We started interviewing them through Boober, the app. And that was one of the first moments where I felt like I was taking care of myself. And I should have mentioned that before. That was like the first moment where I was like, wow, I'm already proud of how I'm taking care of myself and advocating for what I may need. So I interviewed a doula, and my husband and I actually did not agree initially on which one we were going to pick, but I intuitively felt like this was the one.
Oh, can I
I couldn't
ask
even
why?
pinpoint why.
Oh.
Well, we
Right.
interviewed one doula that was just super bombastic. And she just like was really funny, had lots to say. And I felt like I was trying to ask her questions, but I almost had to like cut her off to like ask the question.
Huh.
And my husband loves personalities like that. He loves to be entertained. He is like your best audience member. He laughs at everything. And I already felt like, oh, I see. Like I'm going to feel like there's not enough space in the room for me. That's not going to work. So like ultimately, I kind of set an early precedent that like for decisions like this, like I'm going to be kind of the last say.
Okay.
And the doula that we picked she was the perfect fit for us. She just really like kind of questions a lot of the things that we maybe would have done. And she like is an extreme like minimalist, and really just has a very reasonable and balanced approach. And again, I could be intense. So to see that like someone has done it themselves, like she is a mom and she has this really reasonable, balanced approach, that really right away set me up to be less intense, which I need.
That's
So
amazing.
going back to your question now.
Yeah.
So
I love hearing this, because I think, first of all, I think what you said is really helpful, because we have a lot of doulas that listen to this. And you said something super important, that sometimes it's often not about the doula. It's about how's that doula going to work with the person, and are they being, I don't know, maybe it's saying too much, but are they being too much? So
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I really like that. All right. So we'll go back. So then how did you find your doctor?
This was like almost a coincidence, truly. I'll start by saying that like I have a little bit of like medicalized anxiety.
Okay.
And the truth is, nothing's ever happened to me. I've never had surgery. I've never gone to the hospital. I don't know where this anxiety comes from, but I am not trusting. And right away, like as a pregnant person, I was like, I am not going to accept anything that does not feel right to me. Like if I meet this doctor and it doesn't feel right, on to the next. I was already like saying that to myself. I was working with NYU fertility clinic. I thought I might have to go down that route. And then when we found out we were pregnant, we needed to find another OB. And already I was feeling like overwhelmed, tired, nauseous. Just like the idea of finding the perfect place felt extremely overwhelming. And my husband immediately swooped in and was like, I'll do it. And he told me, this is what happens when you hand it to your husband. He like typed in Google, like best OBGYN New York. And, what came up was actually Mount Sinai East, because of their low C-section rates. That's what came up. Many people maybe would disagree, but that's what he found. And he made an appointment for me. And the doctor that I met initially was probably everything some women would say they don't want. Like older, male, maybe like pretty blunt, like maybe not the most warm and fuzzy. And for me, it was just perfect. Like every concern I had, he answered me directly.
Hmm.
He never made me feel silly for like asking any particular question. Um, Most hospitals don't do tours anymore. At some point, kind of later in my pregnancy, I expressed being like a little bit flustered that I will never have seen the hospital until I'm there giving birth. And he was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I work there on Wednesdays. Meet me. I'll give you a tour." Like
Oh,
these
that's so
things
nice.
made such a big impact. I really can't say enough. Many times I had slight concerns and I would email him or, on the portal, send a message. He would get back to me on a Friday at 8 o'clock at night.
Oh,
Like even
wow.
if it's a small concern, if you don't hear back from your doctor for 3 days, what was once a seed is now a full tree by Monday,
Mhm.
I just really felt like I was being accommodated
Who
to in
was
a
this
way.
doctor?
It's Dr. Adler from Mount Sinai
Okay.
East.
Okay.
Can't
Great.
recommend him enough. Maybe he's not for everyone, but for me, it made a really big difference.
I love that. So you now have your good team. So during the birth process, how did they help you stay mentally flexible? And we'll go into your birth story soon, but
Yeah.
I'm curious how this team together worked to help you stay grounded.
Well, for one, my mom had 2 C-sections. So that was something that was always just kind of in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I had asked my doctor early on, given that my husband is like 6 feet and I'm like 4'10" and a quarter, like, does he think there's a greater chance of there being a C-section? And, maybe that's a silly question, or maybe I shouldn't have asked it, or who knows? But he looked at me and was like, "Yes, there is." And just kind of having that in my head helped. It just did. Um, my doula, again, like she's just such a relaxed, organic, intuitive person. I asked her lots of questions about herself as a mother, um, which I felt was an asset for me when interviewing doulas, that the doula like actually had concrete experience being a mother too. So like she kind of helped me be very flexible in my thinking. I read a lot of really great books that kind of shed light on like both sides of the spectrum. I found myself in communities that maybe were approaching birth very differently, whether it be unmedicated or home births. I knew that wasn't necessarily where I felt the safest, but I enjoyed being in circles and communities that were preparing for that path because I feel like there's a lot to take away, even
Mm-hmm.
just the preparation piece. So yeah, like just the people I had in my corner and like the communities that I was inserting myself into made a big difference in just how I was like mentally prepared.
I love that. And I love that you really thought and sat with who is the right person for you, because it really makes a difference if you
Yeah.
have someone that aligns. And really, what I tell people in class all the time is the birth type, like I'm never attached to who should birth where. It's where you feel the safest.
Yeah.
And for some people, they may be like, I don't actually feel safe in a hospital. I'm going to do a home birth. And others can say, like, that would be crazy to me. I 100% want all the beeps and whistles of the hospital. So it's the
Yeah.
fact that your team made you feel safe, and birth can flow better when your adrenaline's not up and you're not on that red alert, fight or flight. So you did an amazing thing. You really prioritized yourself. We're coming back to that you
Yeah.
prioritized yourself and your needs, and by setting yourself up with this team, you really helped catapult things in a positive direction. All right, so we're going to take a quick
Yeah.
break, and when we come back, I'm just going to hand the mic over. You're going to just tell your story, but we'll take a quick break first. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Paris. I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. and preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Okay, so we're back. So the mic is yours. Share your story.
Okay. I think I'm going to start even before the birth itself.
Sure.
My husband and I, for about a year and a half, decided that we were ready to have a child. We were ready and we were absolutely not ready. And I think that this is true for like a lot of New Yorkers in particular. It's very easy to feel like you're not set up, right? You might not have the house. You might not have the extra bedroom. You may not feel like, you don't have the parking spot. You don't have the minivan. So you may not feel ready. But we were becoming aware of age, and we were also just feeling like when this child comes, we will make ourselves ready, because sometimes you have to be creative in cobbling it all together. So I wasn't on birth control for about a year and a half. And the truth is, it probably wasn't the best year leading up to getting pregnant, to be pregnant. And we didn't even look at a calendar once. I don't even know what we were doing, but there was absolutely no intentionality. And then we moved from Brooklyn to Harlem, which was a really big move for us. What we wanted was just like a 2-bedroom. We just wanted more space. We were almost afraid to even like explain why, although everyone knew. The first thing, all of the parents in my life said was like, a 4th floor walk up. Are you crazy? What's going to happen when you're pregnant, when you have a child? And I honestly did not appreciate that comment, because I was neither of those things. And we are in our apartment for what I want to say is 2 days. And I'm a teacher, as I said before, and I'm exhausted. I'm blaming it on like the end of the year, but I come home and I take a nap, which is absolutely not my personality. I haven't taken a nap in my life. And my husband, who's like the most gentle, generous soul, came into the bedroom like a little like cheeky and was like, hey, I know you're tired, but I need your help. This place is a mess. You can sleep now, but tomorrow I need you to come home with some goals. And he left, and I was a little taken back. And I kind of had this moment with myself where I was like, what is wrong with me? I really don't feel like myself. What is wrong with me? And I should probably say that I was diagnosed with PCOS. I had totally inconsistent periods, many months I didn't have one at all. I had, made some inquiries with a fertility clinic in New York. It wouldn't have occurred to me I did not get my period. So, I went to the bathroom, and I guess it occurred to me that I should take a pregnancy test, which, a year of just being totally kind of carefree and blowing with the wind, I really maybe took none, or maybe just a few. I can't honestly remember. I take this pregnancy test, and it says I am pregnant. It was beyond words for me. I could not believe it. I always wanted to surprise my husband in this grandiose way. We're big grand gesture people. But anywho, I immediately walk out of the bathroom. I have my phone on video. I'm not hiding it. And I hand him the test, and I'm like, it may be nothing, or it may be something. And it's a positive pregnancy test, and we just cannot believe it. I was absolutely in shock. Long story short, 5 days go by. On the 5th day, I start bleeding, and it turns out that it was a chemical pregnancy. Long story short, and it was devastating. It was devastating. It was surprising. I felt betrayed by my body. We never told anybody we were pregnant, and we, for a very long time, never shared anything about the chemical pregnancy either. And we were trying to work through it and move on with our summer. And I kind of had this intrusive thought, or this magical thinking, that I could fix this. I could fix it. And the way I could fix it is I could get pregnant again. And I went on these forums on the internet. I don't even know how reliable they were. They were just completely random forums about women having chemical pregnancies. I didn't even know what it was at the time. And I read that sometimes you can be more fertile the next month. It really, I want to say I didn't believe it, but I wanted to try. And so for the first time ever, we were seriously looking at that calendar and using the ovulation strips, and like it was business time. And we were traveling. We were in Portland, we were in LA. It was like kind of a crazy time. And it was stressful. It was stressful. I was like grieving. I had my eye on the calendar constantly. By the end of our trip in LA, it was like the earliest I could possibly take a test. I took one. It said not pregnant. And I almost had a sigh of relief, to be honest. Like for 1 month, we were trying like that, and it felt excruciating. And then we come home to New York, and I don't know, like, when you want it so badly, any type of sensation, you want to write a whole story around it. I'm tired. Why am I tired? And I have cramps in my stomach. Why do I have cramps in my stomach? And I'm bloated. Like, are you these things? Do you want to be these things? Who knows? And I thought to myself, okay, we don't even have any pregnancy tests at home anyways. I probably would let the whole thing go, honestly. And then I saw that I had these like HCG strips that test like the early pregnancy hormone. I took one just I don't know, just because intuitively my body told me to. And there was a faint line. There was the very next month. I couldn't believe it. Like, I wasn't even in a place to be playful. I called my husband into the bathroom, and we were in huge shock. And then we went out for like a better, more clear pregnancy test that says pregnant, and we were. So anywho, I'm gonna jump maybe more to the birthing story,
Okay, yeah.
but it was quite an emotional roller coaster the 5 days after getting pregnant, because I felt like I was on pins and needles. Like, is it going to happen again? Is this a trend? And those 5 days, I was extremely anxious, and that's when I looked for affirmations about like, that was then, and this is now, and we need to turn the page of the book, and what is known is good, and what is not known, like, I shouldn't be projecting that. I shouldn't be worrying about that. I shouldn't be like writing a narrative that isn't here yet. So anywho, it's a whole year of being pregnant. I'm a pre-K teacher. I work almost until 39 weeks. I get the flu at 38 weeks. A little bit about me. I love wearing high heels. I love wearing lipstick. Like, these were important things to me. I am doing this to the very, very end. And I have it in my mind that I will probably go past my due date, because this is my first pregnancy. And, I really thought I was going to do things like, drink the red leaf tea and do the curb walking. And I really thought, like, for sure I'd be doing these things. But the truth is, I did not even put one date up to my lips because I was scared about giving birth. And I felt that I didn't want to try anything until my due date came. So that's exactly what I did. I just did nothing and lived my life, and probably pushed it, going out and feeling normal. And it's the day before my due date. And because I had the flu, I guess a week prior, I had a clogged ear. So I go to the ENT, and I was like, I can't hear out of my ear. Like, and the doctor's asking me, when are you going to give birth? And I'm like, it could be now. Like, fix my ear. Like, I was afraid it was going to be exacerbated by birth. So go to the ear doctor. He gives me some medication. And then I get this idea that I should get a pedicure. So I go and get a pedicure. It takes like 3 people to get me in the chair, 3 people to get me out of the chair. But I was like feeling really good that I was doing a little bit of self-care. And then I had this idea I should go to TJ Maxx. And I'm in TJ Maxx, and I'm like grabbing all these baby clothes that I don't need last minute. And the manager comes up to me and asks if I want a carriage to put my stuff in. And I'm like insulted. I'm like, no, I'm perfectly fine holding all 20 things in my hands. Gosh, like, how dare they? Like, it's because I'm pregnant, right? That's why they're coming up to me. Like, in reality, they would offer anybody a carriage. But I had it in my mind that, like, they were trying to do something extra special for me because they thought I should be there. And maybe I shouldn't have. Then I'm like, I'm going to take myself out for a fancy lunch. And long story short, I couldn't get anywhere. I couldn't get any further than Subway Eat Fresh. So that's where I landed. I went home after a very big day. watched some trash TV, had a fudge pop, and then stood up and felt pretty uncomfortable. Like I had an uncomfortable sensation. And at that moment, my therapist calls me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, too much is happening. And I tell her, I could do therapy, but I'm experiencing some weird feeling right now, and we're just gonna have to go with the flow. And she was like, Emily, like, you do not have to do this right now. Like, how about I just stay on the phone with you until your husband gets home? I was just so afraid that I would will away the contractions.
Mm-hmm.
I always had it in my mind that like I need to stay calm. But what does that even mean for somebody who's not so good at staying calm? So, long story short, I hang up with her. We're not doing therapy. I call my husband. I had told him earlier that I am experiencing some pains, but like, go to the gym. It will be fine. I call him again. I'm like, come home, come home, come home, come home, come home. And he said he like flew on the train, and like every stop he's like sweating. I'm working on some like really bad craft project on the kitchen table. Like I'm like sewing my daughter's name, like with these like, I'm trying to like stuff these letters. It's looking ridiculous. I'm not at all a sewer. And I'm on the letter Y for Teddy. Like I just started. And, it's a little hard working with a needle when you're like going into labor, but I'm like, I will finish this. So I'm like putting the stuffing in and, doing all the things. And the second I put that needle down, it was like mentally my body knew I could we could just fully be in labor. So my husband came home. And, right away, my friend, who is like the most organized person I know, sent us this list of like things you have to do when you go into labor. So we took that list out and we're calling the doula and we're calling the hospital. And eventually the doula comes over. The hospital says, come when you're ready for pain management. Now, I had some goals around pain management, and the fact that they said that, I was kind of annoyed. I was like, oh, of course they would say that. Come when because they want me to get it earlier than I want to get it. The epidural I'm speaking about. I didn't like that they said that, and they said something along the lines of, come whenever you're ready, and let us know when you're on the way. That part, naturally, I completely blacked out and never even told my husband about that part either. We're starting to time the contractions. My doula eventually makes her way over and she introduces the TENS machine, which, oh my gosh, it like became my best friend. Like I kind of like jokingly felt like I was like a junkie. Like I would like turn it up like really high and like, I was absolutely attached to it. It really did help me, or at least made me feel like I was in control. And that is kind of like a theme in my life. I do like to feel like I'm a little bit in control. I should mention that I have a dance background and I kind of did some more like intense working out in times of my life, including running. And one of the things that I always kept in mind, and that was said to me, was that like, if you panic in your breathing, you panic in your body, you panic in your mind. So I knew it would be painful, but like the best thing I could do for myself is to really remain calm in my mind, to try to get to a meditative state. Truth is, I don't really meditate, so I wasn't sure how I was going to get there. But I was really big on breathing, and I knew that there was a chance what might feel good to me is really going in on myself, turning the lights low, lighting candles. I had this, calm pregnancy playlist, not engaging with people anymore, kind of closing my eyes halfway in the way you may in yoga. And I just started doing like laps in the apartment. I mean, I'd go in her room, my daughter's room, down the hallway, around the living room. My husband started moving all the furniture, and I just went in on myself. One of the main reasons why I hired a doula was for someone to really let me know when it was time to go to the hospital. I took some birthing classes actually at the prenatal yoga center. And one of the things that was said was like, you might want to consider not going to the hospital super early. The earlier you go there, the earlier they're going to offer interventions and pain management, and that may slow things down. So I had that in my mind. not to go early. I had a goal of not getting the epidural until 5 centimeters. And I also, again, had a kind of a balanced and realistic, perspective that maybe I'll do it this way or maybe I won't, but it's good to have a game plan. Anyway, my doula really wasn't going to tell me when it was time to go. Like, whether it's intentional or not, she wasn't going to tell me when it was time to go. And I was getting a little bit nervous about getting down the stairs. Again, I'm in a 4th floor walk up. Like, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel going down the stairs while I was in labor. I wasn't sure how it was going to feel getting in the car. My doula had mentioned a few times that it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. So at a certain point, I was like, it's time. I must be many centimeters dilated. It's time. And we just fly out of the house. It was actually very easy for me to get down the stairs. Waiting in front of the apartment, I was like starting to put on a little bit more of a scene. If anybody walked by, they might kind of do a double take. I get in the car. The idea of like sitting down on my bottom seems excruciating. So instead I'm on my knees, I'm on my hands, in the back seat. And we're on our way to the hospital, and we get there, and the hospital like wants me to fill out this paperwork. And like, I'm like, there's just no way I can even hold a pen. The guy says it, and as soon as he says it, he like takes it back again. He's like, oh, never mind, you'll do it later. And then we speak to some receptionist, and she's like, did you call the hospital? And like, it hits me that like, I did early on, but I didn't actually say I was on the way. So I say that, and she's like, well, does anybody know that you were coming? Like, is somebody expecting you? And I'm literally like, oh my gosh. Because in my mind, like, I'm about to have this baby. Like, nobody knows I'm here. Like, are they going to put me in the waiting room? Like, oh my gosh. And like, I want to blame my husband, but the truth is I never even told him that we were supposed to call the hospital. Like, it was totally my fault. Anyway, long story short, they put me someplace, I don't know where. I have like more things than one would take to the hospital than you would ever need. But do I have a bottle of water? No, I do not. And I am suddenly so thirsty, I could literally drop dead. And I've asked quite a few times, like, can I have a cup of water? And eventually I'm like, can somebody please get me water? I have asked multiple times. My doula is giving me her personal water. I'm like already feeling like, oh my gosh, I've completely screwed this up. They examine me and they say I'm 1 centimeter. I cannot believe I'm only 1 centimeter. They ask if I want the epidural, and just flies out of my mouth. No, my plan is 5. They walk away, and as soon as they walk away, and I should mention, they made me take the TENS machine off. And as soon as they did that, it was like, I just felt 1,000% worse. I felt like my lifeline was taken away. My husband is now doing counter pressure, but it's like, it's taking a little bit of work to find that perfect spot and that perfect amount of pressure. As soon as the nurse walks away, I change my mind. And I'm like, I do want the epidural. And it's like, as soon as the nurse walks away, it's like they vanish into oblivion. Like, if you don't give that right answer right away, sometimes you really could pay for it. So I'm transported into another room. My husband is like doing tons and tons of
why you couldn't keep the TENS machine on? That seems so...
Yeah. So they didn't want me to put it on because I think they were going to start to monitor the baby.
The monitors weren't on you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But the hospital does not allow it at all. And I actually kind of knew that in advance.
Huh.
I just didn't know how helpful the TENS machine would be. And I was like quite flustered that I couldn't have it. My husband's putting his full force into my back for what feels like a very long time. He is sweating. I'm thinking like, I might have this baby, but like I might break my back. Like I really was like, I can only imagine what type of condition I'm going to be in. There must be finger marks and bruises on my back. The nurse comes back and I say, I changed my mind. Like, I do want that epidural. And she's like, okay, there's a few people ahead of you. I'll see what I can do. Long story short, I guess I looked bad enough that she advocated for me to be next. My contractions were pretty close apart. They were like 2 minutes apart, 1 to 2 minutes apart. Like, my pain was, an 8 at least. So they gave me the epidural, and what they needed me to do was kind of like make my body concave, kind of like the letter C, sit completely still in like a crisscross shape with my legs while I'm having contractions in order for them to give me the epidural. Excruciating is not even the word. Like, it was beyond. And I had always been a little bit nervous about the epidural pain, but didn't even feel it. Did not even feel it. I was in so much pain. When the epidural kicked in, I actually had the thought many times that if this birth takes more than 1 week, I would be okay with it. That's really how I felt. I felt so good, so relieved. I called my family. Like, I could hear like tears in their eyes over the phone. They couldn't believe that I called them. Like, I was just in a much better state. And it's late at night now, and the plan is, they'll keep on checking me, and we'll move ahead when it's time to move ahead. And I start to get in this cycle of like waking up maybe every hour or two, kind of readjusting my body or having somebody readjust my body, and vomiting, which was like one of my worst fears. And this continues for literally the entire day. I am completely asleep almost for 24 hours. It's crazy. Like, I could barely open my eyes. Whatever was in me was just making me like completely lethargic. And then anytime I would kind of come back into myself, I would vomit. So I'm feeling really, really, really bad at this point. And I kind of hear my husband and the doula chatting for literally the whole day. It was just like such a strange moment in time. I had friends telling me that it could be really boring at the hospital. You're going to want to watch movies. You're going to want to play games. I was in no state for that. And at 10 p.m., I'm finally 10 centimeters dilated. This is my due date. And I was sure I would give birth on my due date. But now, we only have 2 hours to go. But, 2 hours seems like a reasonable amount of time to give birth in. So I still kind of have my fingers crossed. It is time to push. And I'm like really nervous about pushing because I can't feel anything. What does it mean to push when you can't feel anything? But the doctor is like coaching me through it. And the doctor is like, wow, like you're doing a great job. Exactly. Perfect. This is like coming back to me being a little bit intense. I can be really intense. I could also be like a little competitive, especially with myself. So I am pushing so hard, and I'm like asking my husband to give me the affirmations, and I have my like Britney Spears playlist in the background, and I am like ready to have this baby. And as I'm pushing, like, I'm really looking at the doctor's facial expressions because she's not giving me the most feedback in the world. And she's just like a little bit flat. And then she tells me that every hour she has to go and write notes about how this process is going. So I'm pushing and her face is just flat, and she's taking these notes every hour, and she's left quite a few times. At one point she says she's going to deliver another baby.
Did you realize how long it had been that you were
not
pushing?
At all. Not at all. It didn't even click to me that she said she's leaving every hour, and she's left a few times already, and she's delivered somebody else's baby in the amount of time. I'm like, no, you're not delivering someone else. Like, you're delivering my baby. Like, what? And now I do know in my heart that it's probably after midnight, and I'm like, oh gosh, I already know this baby. This baby is like, she is pushing boundaries already, refuses to be born on her due date. And I said at some point to the doctor, it would really help if you say things like, the baby is coming, or I see the head, like that would probably help me. And she looks at me and she's like, I don't see those things. And I'm like, oh my God.
Did the doctor or your doula offer different pushing positions?
They did. They offer different pushing positions. We tried it. It just felt like...
You're probably also exhausted.
I was, but I refused for that to be my story. In fact, a few times I said to the doctor, am I pushing strong enough? Do you need me to push stronger? Is it strong? Like, I would have pushed. I'm telling you, I would have pushed for 20 hours. Like, I was not even close to having no steam in the tank. And eventually she says, we are at 5 hours. And I was like, and the funny thing is, I didn't really know 5 hours was like too long. And like I said, I listened to all of the birth stories on the podcast, but I had it in my mind like, okay, well, we're at 5 hours. Okay, this is my story. Like I didn't truly understand, like most people don't push for 5 hours. And she said, like, we might want to start thinking about some alternatives. And she's like, the truth is you are doing totally fine. You are totally stable and your baby's doing totally fine. She is totally stable. But do we want to wait until one of you is not stable is where my head is at. She's like, something that I'm thinking about right now is offering you an episiotomy and like a forceps delivery. And the reason why this was the intervention she was offering was because my daughter Teddy was sunny side up and she was grinding on my pelvis. And maybe that's because I'm a small person. I don't know. So she offered those 2 interventions to me. And maybe what I should have said from the very beginning is those are the 2 most triggering interventions for me. Even when writing down my birth plan, the episiotomy in particular, I really was not comfortable with that. I really wasn't. I mean, I had read that sometimes when you initiate the tear, it can, tear even more. I really was quite triggered by that intervention. I was also really not comfortable with forceps delivery, just hearing all the things that could go wrong with that too. But she wasn't quite offering it. She was more like suggesting it. And she had me continue to push with the nurses. And then she said, I'm going to invite a team of other doctors and we're going to go outside and we're going to discuss. And then we're going to come back and we're going to present to you what we think is the best thing to do to move forward. At this point, I've been in labor close to 30 hours. Like my husband looks like he's going to topple over. Like my doula looks exhausted. There's like absolutely no accommodations for her. She's like sitting on a stool for 30 hours. It's, they're both wrecked. I feel amped. Like it must have been adrenaline. I felt absolutely energized. I felt completely clear-headed. And honestly, I almost felt a little resentful of anybody who looked tired. I'm like, I'm not tired at all. How could you be looking tired? Like I was really kind of experiencing this like superhuman hormonal thing that birthing people sometimes feel. And the doctor comes back and she's like, ultimately we spoke and what we want to offer you is a C-section. And the truth is, I kind of was hoping that's what they would offer. I did a lot of research on, all the pros and cons for all the different scenarios. But in my mind, whether this is true or not, a C-section felt like a really kind of controlled exit for my daughter. And if she was grinding on me in some way, if she was not in the right positioning, I did not want her journey to be traumatic. And I wanted to be in the best condition I could be to take care of her when she came out, given the of course, inevitable recovery of a C-section. So they took me into the surgical room. I have like a special good luck charm that my dad gave to me, like a special family coin in one hand. And I have essential oils in the other because my doula said like there might be some smells in the delivery room. I had been barfing for like literally 30 hours already. I am throwing up while the C-section is happening. It is, not enjoyable. At some point, I fall asleep while they are doing the C-section on me. I mean, I just think everything that was put into my body, it was just completely knocking me out. And when she was born, I saw her. I took a quick scan, trying to notice like all the things that would maybe like calm down my intrusive thoughts. And they go to put her by my head, and I am so embarrassed for myself. I can barely open my eyes. I actually feel like I'm going to fall asleep, and she's on me. And this is our magical moment. I was so embarrassed, and I asked that she be taken to my husband, and he cuts the cord, and like we just can't believe it. And they put me in the recovery room, and there are some parts that are hazy at this time for both me and my husband. But I start to uncontrollably shake, which happens sometimes after a C-section. I'm not feeling my best. And, I'm hooked up to a bunch of things, and there's a machine next to me, and the machine starts like beeping constantly. And at one point, I kind of say, really annoyed with my eyes closed to the nurses, like, I cannot rest with this machine beeping like crazy. Like, please get out of here and turn it off. Like, I can't rest like this. And the truth is, I didn't really think that machine had anything to do with me. I just thought it was like, I'm in this recovery room. Other people were in the recovery room too. And the nurse says to me something along the lines of, like, Miss, like, you're not doing very well. We have to keep the machine on. And I'm like, what? Turns out I had really high blood pressure. And I was diagnosed with preeclampsia. I could not believe this. Like, I had never had high blood pressure a day in my life. I was like pretty overwhelmed. They said they had to put me on something called magnesium. They said that it might make me feel like I have the flu for the next 24 hours. My daughter was like taken away. Like, either she was taken to the nursery or, they went to do like the first things they do to newborn babies. It wasn't clear to me like what happened or why it happened. I'm not even going to say I was upset it happened. I just was like so disoriented. And my husband is hearing this news and like he looks like he isn't even taking it in. It's like the first time where I get like a little bit like emotional because I'm like, how could this be happening? Like, I did the thing. The baby is here. She is good. Like, more? Like, no. And anyway, long story short, like, they give me the magnesium and I didn't feel like I had the flu. I felt like I was hit by a truck, but I feel like I would have felt that way regardless. I had been in labor for over 30 hours. Like, I don't know what I would have felt like if I wouldn't have taken that. Obviously, I needed to. But I don't know. I don't think like, oh my gosh, it was just on top of everything else that was so horrible. I really didn't feel that way. One thing that felt a little frustrating about the hospital was that there was really no accommodations for my husband or for the doula. Like, he was like in a chair. When I was in the recovery room, he was sitting on a stool. He hadn't slept in forever. I actually sent him home. I was like, why don't you go home, like rest for a few hours and come back? Now that I think about it, I'm like, I sent him home. But maybe it wasn't the wrong decision in all honesty, but I remembered, being by myself. I remember feeling like I wasn't sure if I should stay with my daughter or have her go into the nursery. I did have some friends suggest that the nursery is not always a bad thing and you might want to rest while you can. So they did take her to the nursery many times. They told me, like, we could like wheel her back whenever you want. We can bring her to you. I thought that was like so kind. And the truth is, like, is that kind or is that my child? And you should always bring me my child when I want it. But in the moment, it made me feel really good that I can be in control in that way. I can have her be looked after, but she can also come back to me, whenever. And I also kind of felt like she shouldn't be with me until my husband's here. Like, I wasn't sure if I could trust myself yet. And that was maybe in reflection, maybe like he should have been there because that's not true. And, but if I felt that way, maybe I shouldn't have felt that way. But the truth is we were in the hospital for, I think 4 nights, which is longer than most. It was because they wanted to, really keep an eye on me.
Keep an eye on the preeclampsia. That's a big deal.
Exactly. I found being in the hospital so helpful. I mean, every single time I tried to have the baby latch because I did want to breastfeed, I would hit that button. There'd be somebody there helping me, normalizing how I was feeling. I told you before that I'm a real like high heels, red lipstick girl. So, to pack for the hospital, like I had romanticized the whole thing. I was like, should I wear feathers? Should I wear silk? Like, what do I want the pictures to look like? The day going to labor, I'm still contemplating what Teddy's going to wear. The real truth is that I stayed in blood-stained scrubs for 4 days, for 4 nights, 5 days. That's what I stayed in. I didn't even want to take a shower. I was really scared of I was scared of leaving the bed. I was scared of seeing myself. I was scared of like what it would feel like in the shower. I didn't feel like well enough to like trust myself in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was nothing romantic about what it felt like. I really didn't want visitors at the hospital. My parents came and my husband's mom came. Mostly I did it for them. I was like really cognizant of like not wanting to scare my parents because I felt that I looked just like a monster. I was so swollen. I couldn't tell, like, is this just me now? Is this how I
Well,
look?
that was probably a combination. Preeclampsia, one of the signs is a lot of swelling. Plus,
Yeah.
you had an epidural for a very long time, so they had to give you constant fluids.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of that swelling. But keep in mind, you just had major abdominal surgery, preeclampsia, and a really long birth. Of course, you felt horrible. And I mean that in the nicest way. Like, please do not be hard on yourself. I wasn't. Yeah, good. Because
I was just like, this is what it is. I wanted to be prepared, in case it was like the Princess Diaries. I don't know in case it was. I wanted to be prepared, but it was not. And I was like, that's okay. This is just what it's going to be instead.
Yeah.
I surprised myself, but I definitely gave into it. Reflecting on the experience, nurses are angels. They are absolute angels. They made me feel so good, so calm, so respected, so attended to. The doctor that delivered my daughter was not the doctor that I spoke about earlier on. It was actually one of the doctors in the rotation. And it was a doctor I had never met before. Not ideal, but I already knew there was a good chance that could happen. She made me feel respected. I felt that she was very transparent. She let me push for 5 hours. Many doctors would have maybe suggested something else, earlier than that. The whole experience, like it wasn't what I wanted for myself, but I really felt that I was in control and that they had my consent the entire time. And, if I could do it all over again, I really wouldn't change much. I feel lucky that, the interventions that I needed, I had. I had already made accommodation, like plans for Teddy's pediatrician, who happened to also be in this hospital. So Teddy's pediatrician met her at the hospital, which I felt like was just a really great kind of start to that relationship. Of course, she did lose, more than that 10% amount of weight in the recommended period of time. She went from fine to like, losing too much weight. So I started the 3-part feeding, which, I read about all these things. I read about how there was a good chance so much fluids were put into me. Was she really 7 pounds, 9 ounces? Or, is that part of why they felt she lost so much weight? Who knows? But the truth is we are in a really good and stable footing right now, despite the chaotic entrance into this world. I'm obsessed with this birth story. Like,
what
every
I
nook and cranny.
love hearing is that you had some twists and turns, some big twists and turns. But the fact that you said if you had to do it all over again, you wouldn't change anything, that just immediately said to me that you were respected and heard and supported the whole time. Because somebody could have, quote unquote, like the ideal birth, but if they were demeaned and not listened to and not respected, that from the outside looking in could be traumatic. And some people might hear your story and be like, wow, there's a lot of twists and turns. But you're saying, I had those twists and turns, but I was supported. It was not traumatic. That just speaks so much to you and to your team, and also to the hard work that you put in to pick that team and educate yourself. I'm so impressed by you, Emily.
Thank you.
So we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, I have 2 questions for you. The first is, what have you learned about yourself as a new parent? And the second is, what is one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents? So chew on that. We'll be right back. All right, we'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Okay, so we're back. So through this whole experience and several months into, how many months are you now postpartum?
2.5.
2.5. Okay, 2.5. Because I was thinking last time I saw you in class was like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself as a new parent?
I think identity is really important to me. Really important to me. Like what I love, how I present myself. Yeah, identity is important to me. So like it was really important to me right away to like jump into the things I love doing and jump into the clothes I love wearing and jump into the shoes that make me feel like my best self and put that red lipstick on. Those things are really important to me. Very early on, like I want to say like when my daughter was 2 weeks old, my sister and brother-in-law came to visit from Berlin. That's where they live. And I told them, like, I don't know what this visit's going to be like. Like, I might be in bed all day. Like, I don't know. But the truth is, I was like right back in my high heels. I was like meeting them out. We took Teddy to restaurants. We took her to happy hour. We took her to Central Park. It was important to me to see how she could fit into my life. And it was important for me to like just jump back in kind of head first. And of course, like with their help. That being said, I've realized what's also important to me is like expanding my life. Like, where are the places I would have never gone until I had Teddy? So now I'm in this kind of moment of taking her to all the baby classes, and I'm involved in all these new mom groups, and I have all of these new mommy friends and meetups, and that's indicative of this new chapter. And I'm kind of in this moment of like cobbling together both worlds, and maybe being a little less intense than how I started at 2 weeks. Like I have felt for many weeks, and I don't know if this is like a biological thing or just personality, but I feel like I've been on this crazy adrenaline rush that has made me appear to look like I'm just having this amazing recovery, which I am having. But lately I've like been having some days where I do feel tired. And like that's okay too. That's okay that maybe for whatever reason I wasn't tired then and I'm tired now. And it's okay if Teddy at 2 months doesn't make it to every single baby class every single time. So kind of all of these realizations have been really important to me, and I'm trying to find a kind of reasonable and relaxed approach for all of them.
Oh, I like that. What is one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents?
I'm going to quote my doula. She came a few times after Teddy was born, and she said something. I think she used the phrase joy bundle. She's like, you should have something to look forward to every single day. And that is my personality to a T. And I really took that to heart, that I need like a plan or, a meetup or something every day to look forward to that gets me out of the house. So I've created a little bit of a schedule for myself. I always make sure I have one concrete plan for the day, and everything else can be organic. I'm a part of this big Upper West Side and Harlem mom WhatsApp group that has like absolutely made these weeks better than I could ever, ever, ever imagine. Just knowing and talking to other moms and being in spaces where it's like so normalized that we're all like changing diapers and looking for changing tables and, dealing with crying babies. Like I said, I tried to fit Teddy in a lot of spaces where maybe she didn't belong, to see how that felt. But the truth is, nothing has felt better than being in a community where everyone's kind of doing the same thing. So I would really recommend that to anybody who, is on this journey.
Oh, this has been such a joy. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable and honest about your whole journey, from your chemical pregnancy to your anxiety and getting pregnant with Teddy to the whole experience. I find it so valuable for others to listen and feel excited about all the different type of births out there. So thank you for sharing.
And thank you. It's been so full circle for me to be able to do this. My doula had said, write down your birthing story. It's going to be the most important story of your life. You don't want to forget any details. Truth is, I didn't.
Have it forever.
I didn't, but now I'll have it forever. And it's because of this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
This has been an episode of Yoga Birth Babies, produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. I'm Deb Flaschenberg. Thanks for listening.